Chapter 30. Dani didn't want to fight. Her chest and head hurt at the idea of arguing with Zach anymore. She'd realized while the others had watched the movie that while the idea of Zach screwing Marcy stung, it wasn't as though he'd cheated on her. They had long since been over in both of their minds by the time he started his relationship with Marcy. And despite how he saw things, it was a relationship, just not a traditional one, and possibly not one where emotions were involved. She didn't think she would be able to manage an arrangement like that, but it didn't surprise her that Marcy could. I don't know that forgiven is the right word. She sipped from the bottle she held in one hand. I was mad and I'm still not happy about it. If I had to pick one person as my arch enemy, Marcy would be it. I didn't know that. You never said anything. But you didn't cheat on me, Dani continued as if he hadn't spoken. You lived your life after we moved. That is all. As much as I want to, I can't blame you for that. And trust me. I wanted to. Then why aren't you? Zach's voice was curious yet cautious. As if he wanted to know, but was wary of talking her into being mad all over again. A lot of reasons, but chief among them is that I need to set a better example for Mark. I need to show him by my actions how to be a better person. She sighed. I learned a long time ago that what I do in front of him, the way he sees me act, has way more impact on him than what I say. Sometimes I have to swallow my anger and what I want to do in order to make Mark a better person. Usually it's something I don't mind so much. She fell silent a moment, then took another sip. I've not decided how much I mind it this time. Behind her she felt him tense then relax. I guess I can't argue with that. He was silent for a moment. Want to watch something? He gave her a second to respond, then continued when she said nothing. Another option would be to go out on the back deck and watch the stars, but that would mean we'd have to get up, and I just got you clothes. I don't want to give that up. You're in luck. I don't want to move. I'm tired, and I don't want to get up again for a bit. What's on? Not sure, I never had satellite hooked up. I do have Netflix though. What do you like to watch these days? He picked up the remote, navigated to the streaming service, and started scanning through the options. Anything not animated. Her upper body shook as Zach chuckled behind her. Drama, comedy, crime, medical? Anything but medical. They get too much wrong. You in the mood to think about what we watch, or just let it entertain us? Entertain. She closed her eyes, tilted her head back to rest against his shoulder, and waited. If she wasn't careful, she'd fall asleep right here. After a moment, a familiar theme song came on. One she'd only heard from Nick at night. She frowned and opened her eyes. Almost in slow motion, she stared at the TV a moment then turned to look at Zach with the same confused look. This is older than the two of us put together. He met her gaze. Not quite but close. He glanced up at the screen. You said you wanted something to entertain, but not something you had to think about. This looked perfect. Have you ever seen it? Yeah, Dad used to watch it whenever he found it on. Zach frowned. Want me to find something else? No, it's okay. We can watch this. She sat up and took a long drink. She drained the bottle and set it on the table in front of the sofa, before moving away from Zach. Hey, I was enjoying you next to me. I'm not leaving, just getting more comfortable. She scooted her ass a little farther away from Zach and lay down, pillowing her head on Zach's thigh. She took a deep breath, letting it out slowly, then turned to look up at Zach. Is this okay? It's great. He gazed down at her, a warm light in his eyes. Dani turned back to the TV and let the program entertain her. A few minutes passed. Something tugged at her hair. She frowned and wondered what it was. The feeling faded and she once more lost herself in the show. There it was again. Something was pulling at her hair. She turned and looked up at Zach. "Are you playing with my hair?" "Yeah. Sorry. I'll stop." "No, it's okay. You don't need to stop. I just wanted to be sure it was you, and not that I'd gotten hung up somewhere or had a small creature in it." She turned back to the TV. "Actually, I kind of like it." Dani let herself get captivated by the old comedy, and how the sweet yet goofy deputy was so earnest in doing his job and doing it how he felt was right. It took a few minutes, but Zach went back to playing with her hair. He started combing through it with his fingers, then smoothed his hand over it. They'd watched a couple episodes, and Zach's hand had come to rest on her arm. As Dani let her eyes drift closed, the last thought that went through her mind was how much she missed being touched by anyone other than her child. "Dani, wake up," Zach's voice brought her back to awareness. She opened her eyes to find they were still on the sofa, but the TV had been turned off. She pushed herself into a seated position and blinked several times as she tried to remember why she was here. "I'm sorry. I guess the alcohol and getting up so early worked against me. I should have let you go to bed sooner. I was enjoying being near you again and got selfish. I should have realized how tired you were." He gave her a weak smile. "I considered carrying you to bed like Mark, but decided you might not like that." Dani scrunched her face at the thought of being carried, sleeping to bed like a child. "You probably would have hurt yourself. I used to carry you around all the time, if you'll recall." "I do, but I'm not a skinny teenager anymore. I've put on enough weight to hurt you." Zach stood. She thought he was stretching after sitting for so long. "I'm not a skinny teenager anymore either." Zach scooped her up where she sat, still trying to wake up. Dani squealed and reached for anything to hold on to. Her arms went around his neck, and she clung to him to keep from falling. "Put me down." She couldn't believe he'd scooped her up with such ease. "Nope. You challenged me by saying I'd hurt myself, now I need to prove I can do it." He took a couple steps. The muscles of his arms and chest flexed, and she felt the strength in them as he moved. Her grip relaxed a little, but she remained wary. There was no point in fighting him, so she might as well enjoy the ride. He made the short trip down the hall, careful not to smack her head or feet against the wall or doorframe. She was impressed. "Hold on," he said, then moved the arm from behind her back to peel back the blanket, before carefully depositing her into the bed. "See?" He smiled down at her from inches away. Zach had started it last time, but this time it was her who couldn't resist. Desire to be seen as something more than Mark's mom drove her to do something she couldn't have planned. Her arms were still around his neck, and she pulled him closer while stretching up to meet his lips with hers. His arms tightened around her as she opened her mouth against his. Heat raced through her and her heart beat faster. Their tongues tangled for several minutes before Zach broke the kiss and pulled away. "Stay," Dani whispered, reaching for him. "I wish I could, but I won't have Mark find us together like that." He gave her a sad smile, then bent and pulled the blanket over her. "There are some clothes for you on top of the dresser, and the bathroom's through there." He motioned to a door on the other side of the room. "Make yourself at home, and if you need anything, I'll be in the living room." He turned and left, stopping at the door to smile again and pull the door closed. She tossed the blanket back and went into the bathroom, wishing Zach was just a little less the good guy she'd fallen in love with so long ago.